that we have an election where broadband was an issue, where one side talked about it a lot and the other side pretended it didn't exist. Then on April the 11th, Stephen Conroy, the Minister for Broadband, Communications, and the Digital Economy, and digital economy is not the urban economy, it's the national digital economy, called for proposals for the national broadband network to bring 12 megabits to at least 98% of the people. So these two events intervene. And then, what do we find this week? Just this week, we have the Australian Financial Review again, our national financial newspaper, the Wall Street Journal of Australia, the Financial Times of Australia, saying this kind of silliness. A phony broadband crisis. There's no justification for the rush apart from politics. There's no evidence of market failure. The crisis is gradually being fixed, at least in built-up areas. Well, there they tip their hand. As long as you don't have a crisis in built-up areas, you don't have a problem. What, me worry? Hey, no worries. Everything's okay. It's okay in Melbourne. It's okay in Sydney. It's okay in the inner suburbs. It's okay in Brisbane. It's okay in the Gold Coast. It's okay in Perth. It's okay in Hobart. It's okay in Launceston. So who's worrying? Who's worrying? You know, I've been to 54 communities in this country in the past, since January, and I can tell you a lot of people are worrying. And I don't have to tell you, you guys and women and men know better than I do because you're out around about this a country all the time. But when you go to Alice Springs, or you go to Stanley in Tasmania, or you go to Coffs Harbour, or some of these other places that are even being, many of these areas are being served a lot better now, people are concerned or have recently been concerned. And they're concerned because they see opportunities to compete with people in the central cities going down the tubes because they don't have access to high-speed broadband. So there's not just a need for people to wake up and smell the roses. You know, there's a need for people to get out and see how people outside the cities live, and to understand that when you go to a small town, you may have it sitting across from you a guy who runs 10,000 head of cattle or 5,000 head of sheep, or creates 300 jobs from the hinterland into a larger city. Because that's the way real economies work. That's the way real people operate. Okay, now if you look at where people live, 60% of Australia's population is in these 5 cities. But the blue areas, and I made this map from burned salt stuff on the sea changers and tree changers, 4 million people now live between Townsville and Port Douglas in the north, all the way around to the Mornington Peninsula in the south over to Adelaide, and then between the Margaret River and Broome on the west coast. 4 million people live there that didn't live there 15 years ago because mostly of internal migration. And these people don't move to high-rises for the most part. Sometimes they do if they go to the Gold Coast or someplace like that. But most of the time they move to, you know, remote areas, in a mountain or in a wilderness or whatever. And so when these people do, they want to have and they need to have access to high-speed broadband to stay connected to the outside world. Now let me just quickly show you what we've done over the last since the new government has come in. Number one, we went to the new government and said we have built out ADSL, but the regulator won't let us turn it on without the threat of confiscating it and forcing us to turn it over to our competitors at below-cost prices. We don't want to do that, so unless we can get an assurance from you that we can turn these on without the threat of confiscation, we're not going to turn them on. It doesn't make any sense. And we got the assurance that we needed. The assurance was slightly more assuring than promises that we had before from the regulator, from Graham Samuel. But there's a big difference that people missed, the commentators missed. There's a huge difference between an assurance from an unelected regulator and an assurance from the Minister of the Crown. A huge difference. And even I know that, you know. And it seems to me that one of the things that people ought to now understand is what that kind of assurance, just that we would be allowed to turn on our ADSL broadband capabilities, our boxes. Anybody can go out and buy those boxes. Optus can buy the box, Floptus, Boptus, Croptus. Any of those other companies can go out and buy one of those boxes. They buy it from the same people we do. they hook it up with the same contractors we do. But if you can get Graham Samuel to let it piggyback on our blocks for below cost, it's rational behavior not to go buy one. And guess what? They don't go buy them. They wait for Graham Samuel to give them, what they don't want to buy. So what do? We just don't turn them on. And so people went with that because Graham Samuel wouldn't give us the assurance that was required. When we got the assurance from the Minister of the Crown, here's what happened to Victoria in 64 days. That's the people, 670,000 homes and businesses in Victoria got ADSL with up to 20 megabits. Let's go to the next one real quick. New South Wales, before February 6th, when Senator Conroy gave us the assurance. After February 6th, New South Wales looks that way. Go on, 720,000 homes. Queensland, before February 6th, here's Queensland today. After the assurance, 580,000 homes and businesses. Go on to Western Australia, it was Perth, and looks like measles there, and whatever up there, and I think it's Falls Church or something. And this is what it is today. Those are a bunch of mining areas, plus Kalgoorlie and some others. Now, go on. South Australia before February 6th was that. What is it today? That's what it is today. Now, go, and these are where most of the people live. Remember the chart. Most of those white spaces is dust and dirt. This is Tasmania. Well, I had fun with Tasmania when I would go down there to talk, because Hobart, down in the corner there, you just barely see the red, only had 3 exchanges turned on, because Optus had only put turned on 3 of their exchanges. They turned on their exchange, we turned on our exchange. Because the regulator had made the Australian consumer hostage to what they do in Singapore. And so, as soon as we were free to turn on, here's what Tasmania looked like. After we were free to turn on, given the green light to turn on. So that happened in 64 days after the new government came in. Go to the next one. Just to give you a more granular view, here was Melbourne before February 6th. Here's Melbourne after February 6th. Go to the next one. Brisbane before February 6th, and Brisbane and the Gold Coast after February 6th. Go on. Now, the point I want to make here is that there is no reason why we can't have broadband to everybody in this country if people will just invest. And there's no incentive to invest if you're going to get it for free.